With me this morning is Aaron Miller, who is the Director of Public Safety Communications and Emergency Management. We have Will Flagler with us also, his deputy. On effective July 8th, which is Monday at 8:30 a.m., under my authority, under the Virginia Code, I declared a local emergency. And what is before the board this morning is a request on my part to consent to that declaration. I'd like Aaron to run through what that actually means very specifically for homeowners, for business owners, and what future steps people might hear about over the next few days. So with that, Aaron.
Sure. Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning to provide a little bit of additional information. As the manager mentioned, the local emergency declaration was signed effective for Monday. Pursuant to Commonwealth requirements, it does have to be ratified by the governing body, yourselves as the board. What that does is it allows us to begin the process to request from the state to conduct what we call joint assessments to determine which assistance programs we may qualify for, and then further, should they find specific levels of damages both in public infrastructure and to private infrastructure, homes and businesses, to, if we meet certain thresholds, then go further to request additional assistance from the federal government, specifically through a FEMA disaster declaration. Now, there are a lot of parts to that, as you can imagine, and a fair number of things that have to happen in order for the appropriate information to get to the folks that it needs to get to at the right times, and steps that we have to follow. You may have seen this week that we requested self-reports from our residents and businesses with a timeline of Friday. So I want to talk a little bit about that and answer some questions. Following any sort of emergency where we believe that we may have the potential to meet what's called a disaster cost threshold, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management requires that the local government provide within 72 hours information concerning what those damages are. So in working with VDEM and working regionally, actually, that 72-hour time was around the Friday deadline that was on that form. Now, that form is only an initial damage assessment. It allows us to wrap our hands around the scope and magnitude of impact to our community and be able to provide the state with guidance as to which one of the branches of the trunk of assistance is best to implement. That does not mean that moving forward, folks who did not submit information will not be eligible to provide that information. We ask that they continue to provide us as much information as possible, and we're going to continue to push that out through public messaging. All that does is help to provide more rich, more clear understanding of what the specific impacts to the community are. We know that they've got to contact insurance companies. We know that they've got to really take some time to assess what that damage is, because we know electrical infrastructure, things like that. So I do want to make that very clear that we will continue to receive that information, and it does not preclude anyone from being able to be eligible for disaster assistance down the road. Now, that information did demonstrate that we locally were going to meet thresholds. So as with any one of these assistance programs, there are certain tests which need to be met. So for two of those tests, in order to qualify for assistance from the state in two cases, we have to have damages which meet or exceed cost thresholds of approximately $3 to $4 million. So we were able to determine by Wednesday that we had met that, submit the preliminary information on Thursday to tell the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to expect further, and then by Friday we were able to package up a very detailed set of information and statistics to provide to them. They're reviewing that, and we believe that next week we will hear from them on the next steps. Now, there are a few potential next steps, and this is where the federal bureaucracy really weighs into disaster recovery. The first one is that we may be eligible for, and I say may because we're still, going through the assessment process, may be eligible for loans and grants through certain programs for our homeowners and business owners. That would be sort of the first level of assistance that is available. That is generally administered through the Small Business Administration and does not require a presidential declaration of emergency, so it moves a little faster. Up from that, there are certain state assistance programs which can become available. State public assistance in order for the county to repair roads and facilities and infrastructure that were damaged. But then there are also certain state programs to provide homeowners and businesses with additional support. Beyond that, there is a possibility of a larger emergency declaration. And even in that case, there are a few different a few different branches that go off the trunk. And that can include everything from an emergency declaration to a major emergency declaration, which is issued by the president with consultation from FEMA Region 3, which is our region. In order to meet those, if it is not readily apparent sort of as the scope of the emergency in the immediate aftermath, it generally takes some time. Just so folks know, our 3 to 4 million is one prong of those of the test for that threshold. The other one is that statewide damages must meet or exceed a number of about $12 million. So just because we meet, then the state has to meet, and then there have to be a few other things that go into that. And those factors are things such as demonstrating financial hardship, demonstrating that the state is unable to provide the support necessary, right? And then it kicks in with the federal government. There is only one other community at this time that was impacted that has issued a declaration of emergency and is meeting thresholds. That's Falls Church. The Northern Virginia emergency managers met yesterday to discuss where they were. Assessments are still ongoing in Alexandria and Fairfax, and they will be making determinations over the next week as to whether or not they meet thresholds. So there's still a lot of detailed assessments going on to see if which path we're going to be going down in order to find assistance for our community. Our commitment is that we're going to work with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to maximize every opportunity. That is our commitment, and we are going to continue to push them and provide them the most up-to-date and best information to demonstrate the need within our residents and businesses. And happy to answer specific questions if you've got those.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. That was a pretty clear explication of what is a pretty opaque process. Do we have any questions from members of the board? Ms. Crystal. Just
wanted to clarify, Mr. Miller, thank you. With regard to, I think many of our property owners are interested in what sort of supports will be available for them, so I want to make sure I'm understanding. With regard to potential eligibility for Small Business Administration loans and grants, that would be potentially available to our property owners and residents under the first threshold that we have met.
That's correct. Yeah, so generally, in order to qualify for Small Business Administration assistance, you have to have 25 or more homes or approximately 15 or more businesses, and this is where it gets tricky, with uninsured losses of 40% or more of the median value, right? So this is why folks like us have jobs, right? So that we can help our communities go through these experiences. So the median home value of Arlington is approximately $640,000 at last ACS check, which means that we needed to document within that 72-hour period 25 or more homes with damages greater than $200,000 to $250,000. So that's why it's really important for our community to be able to provide us that information so that we can push on those things as quickly as possible. Some of our businesses were wonderful in providing us great, very detailed information, worked with our insurance companies, and we definitely feel we're going to be able to meet that threshold. Now, just because we have said we meet it, the next step, and this is what we're working with, is that they have to come in and verify, right? So there will be another assessment to where they say, yes, we concur. There's a check and balance there. We can't just say we've met it. They have to come in and verify. So there will be another assessment, we believe, next week. And we will, as of right now, we are going to be the first community that is assessed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Garvey.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Mr. Miller. And we heard a lot about all of the rescues and things, and I'm really very proud of our team. And indeed, it was a blessing that nobody was hurt or killed. When we were out yesterday, we ran into our staff also like trying to get electricity going and working really hard. And I don't know if you or the manager wants to talk about some of the other things that go on. People may not realize how much work is still going on, and I'd like to highlight that a little bit.
Sure. So I've got a little bit about that, and the manager can obviously talk. As Mr. Dorsey mentioned, in addition to the volunteers that are going out door to door to assist residents and businesses with providing assessment information to us, the primary responsibility for damage assessment and sort of for helping structures get back to be habitable and getting businesses back online falls with our inspection services division, and our chief building inspector does a fantastic job. Those folks work with Dominion to assess and provide actual assessment forms to business owners and homeowners so that they can get power turned back on. And it's important that folks understand that Dominion will not turn the power back on if there was damage to the electrical system, being either the outside meter or to outlets, for instance, in someone's basement level, without that inspection sign-off. And so they can contact the Inspection Services Division, and we've also got some information about that in the public communications that have been going out.
That's great, thank you. And we met the head of Inspection Services, Shariar, and he was right there. It wasn't just like wait to sign off and bureaucratic. He says, I'm here until they can
now.
call me, and I'm not leaving until your power's back on. And it was really great to see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, therefore, I will move that we adopt this resolution that consents to the county manager's declaration of a local emergency. It's got a couple of whereas clauses which are very consistent with the conversation that we have just had, and the operative clause is that now therefore be it resolved that the county board, hereby consents to the declaration of a local emergency by the county manager.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Garvey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all.